Colosseum in Rome, Italy. The Colosseum is an oval amphitheatre in the center of the city of Rome, Italy, just east of the Roman Forum. It is the largest ancient amphitheatre ever built, and is still the largest standing amphitheatre in the world today, despite its age. Construction began under the Emperor Vespasian, 69 to 79 AD in 72, and was completed in 80 AD under his successor and heir, Titus. Further modifications were made during the reign of Domitian. The three emperors that were patrons of the work are known as the Flavian Dynasty, and the amphitheatre was named the Flavian Amphitheatre, Latin, Amphitheatrum Flavium, Italian, Anfiteatro Flavio by later classicists and archaeologists for its association with their family name. The Colosseum is built of travertine limestone, tough, volcanic rock, and brick-faced concrete. The Colosseum could hold an estimated 50,000 to 80,000 spectators at various points in its history, having an average audience of some 65,000. It was used for gladiatorial contests and public spectacles including animal hunts, executions, reenactments of famous battles, and dramas based on Roman mythology, and briefly mock sea battles. The building ceased to be used for entertainment in the early medieval era. It was later reused for such purposes as housing, workshops, quarters for a religious order, a fortress, a quarry, and a Christian shrine. The Colosseum substantially ruined because of earthquakes and stone robbers. For spolia, the Colosseum is still an iconic symbol of Imperial Rome and was listed as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. It is one of Rome's most popular tourist attractions and also has links to the Roman Catholic Church, as each Good Friday the Pope leads a torchlit way of the cross procession that starts in the area around the Colosseum. The site chosen was a flat area on the floor of a low valley between the Caelian, Esquiline, and Palatine hills, through which a canalized stream ran as well as an artificial lake marsh. By the 2nd century BC the area was densely inhabited. It was devastated by the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD, following which Nero seized much of the area to add to his personal domain. He built the grandiose Domus Aurea on the site, in front of which he created an artificial lake surrounded by pavilions, gardens and porticos. The existing Aqua Claudia aqueduct was extended to supply water to the area, and the gigantic bronze Colossus of Nero was set up nearby at the entrance to the Domus Aurea. Construction was funded by the opulent spoils taken from the Jewish temple after the First Jewish-Roman War in 70 CE led to the siege of Jerusalem. According to a reconstructed inscription found on the site, the Emperor Vespasian ordered this new amphitheatre to be erected from his general's share of the booty. It is often assumed that Jewish prisoners of war were brought back to Rome and contributed to the massive workforce needed for the construction of the amphitheatre, but there is no ancient evidence for that. It would, nonetheless, be commensurate with Roman practice to add humiliation to the defeated population. Along with this free source of unskilled labor, teams of professional Roman builders, engineers, artists, painters and decorators undertook the more specialized tasks necessary for building the Colosseum. The Colosseum was constructed with several different materials: wood, limestone, tuff, tiles, cement, and mortar. The Colosseum underwent several radical changes of use. By the late 6th century a small chapel had been built into the structure of the amphitheatre, though this apparently did not confer any particular religious significance on the building as a whole. The arena was converted into a cemetery. The numerous vaulted spaces in the arcades under the seating were converted into housing and workshops, and are recorded as still being rented out as late as the 12th century. Around 1200 the Frangipani family took over the Colosseum and fortified it, apparently using it as a castle. During the 16th and 17th century, church officials sought a productive role for the Colosseum. Pope Sixtus V, 1585–1590, planned to turn the building into a wool factory to provide employment for Rome's prostitutes, though this proposal fell through with his premature death. In 1671 Cardinal Altieri authorized its use for bullfights. A public outcry caused the idea to be hastily abandoned. Allied troops consult a guidebook outside the Colosseum after liberation in 1944. In 1749, Pope Benedict XIV endorsed the view that the Colosseum was a sacred site where early Christians had been martyred. He forbade the use of the Colosseum as a quarry and consecrated the building to the Passion of Christ and installed Stations of the Cross, declaring it sanctified by the blood of the Christian martyrs who perished there. See significance in Christianity. However, there is no historical evidence to support Benedict's claim, nor is there even any evidence that anyone before the 16th century suggested this might be the case. The Catholic Encyclopedia concludes that there are no historical grounds for the supposition, other than the reasonably plausible conjecture that some of the many martyrs may well have been. The Colosseum is an entirely freestanding structure. It derives its basic exterior and interior architecture from that of two Roman theatres back to back. It is elliptical in plan and is 189 meters, 615 feet, 640 Roman feet, long, and 156 meters, 510 feet, 528 Roman feet, wide, with a base area of 24,000 square meters, 6 acres. The height of the outer wall is 48 meters, 157 feet, 165 Roman feet. The perimeter originally measured 545 meters, 1,788 feet, 1,835 Roman feet. The central arena is an oval 87 meters, 287 feet, long and 55 meters, 180 feet, wide, surrounded by a wall 5 meters, 15 feet, high, above which rose tiers of seating. The outer wall is estimated to have required over 100,000 cubic meters, 3.5 million cubic feet, of travertine stone which were set without mortar. They were held together by 300 tons of iron clamps. However, it has suffered extensive damage over the centuries, with large segments having collapsed following earthquakes. The north side of the perimeter wall is still standing. The distinctive triangular brick wedges at each end are modern additions, having been constructed in the early 19th century to shore up the wall. The remainder of the present-day exterior of the Colosseum is in fact the original interior wall. According to the Codex Calendar of 354, the Colosseum could accommodate 87,000 people, although modern estimates put the figure at around 50,000. They were seated in a tiered arrangement that reflected the rigidly stratified nature of Roman society. Special boxes were provided at the north and south ends respectively for the emperor and the Vestal Virgins, providing the best views of the arena. Flanking them at the same level was a broad platform or podium for the senatorial class, who were allowed to bring their own chairs. The names of some 5th-century senators can still be seen carved into the stonework, presumably reserving areas for their use. The Colosseum was used to host gladiatorial shows as well as a variety of other events. The shows, called munera, were always given by private individuals rather than the state. They had a strong religious element but were also demonstrations of power and family prestige, and were immensely popular with the population. Another popular type of show was the animal hunt, or venatio. This utilized a great variety of wild beasts, mainly imported from Africa and the Middle East, and included creatures such as rhinoceros, hippopotamuses, elephants, giraffes, aurochs, wisents, Barbary lions, panthers, leopards, bears, Caspian tigers, crocodiles and ostriches. Battles and hunts were often staged amid elaborate sets with movable trees and buildings. Such events were occasionally on a huge scale. In 2011, Diego Della Valle, head of the shoe firm Tod's, entered into an agreement with local officials to sponsor a €25 million restoration of the Colosseum. Work was planned to begin at the end of 2011, taking up to 2.5 years. Due to the controversial nature of using a public-private partnership to fund the restoration, work was delayed and began in 2013. The restoration is the first full cleaning and repair in the Colosseum's history. The first stage is to clean and restore the Colosseum's arcaded facade and replace the metal enclosures that block the ground-level arches. Taking 3 years, the final product of this work was unveiled July 1, 2016, when the Italian Minister of Culture, Dario Franceschini, also announced that the funds have been committed to replace the floors by the end of 2018. These will provide a stage that Franceschini says will be used for cultural events of the highest level. The project also plans to create a services center and to restore the galleries and underground spaces inside the Colosseum. New to tours of the restored marvel beginning November 1, 2017, the top 2 levels have been opened for guided visits. The 4th level held the marketplace, and the top 5th tier is where the poorest citizens, the plebeians, gathered and watched the show, bringing picnics for the day-long event. The Colosseum is generally regarded by Christians as a site of the martyrdom of large numbers of believers during the persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire, as evidenced by church history and tradition. On the other hand, other scholars believe that the majority of martyrdoms may have occurred at other venues within the city of Rome, rather than at the Colosseum, citing a lack of still intact physical evidence or historical records. These scholars assert that some Christians were executed as common criminals in the Colosseum, their crime being refusal to reverence the Roman gods, but most Christian martyrs of the early church were executed for their faith at the Circus Maximus. 50-51, according to Irenaeus, died about 202. Ignatius of Antioch was fed to the lions in Rome around 107 AD, and although Irenaeus says nothing about this happening at the Colosseum, tradition ascribes it to that place.